The warning lights flashed red across the control room of Station Alpha 7. Technician Zixathera stared at the screen with growing confusion. The numbers made no sense. Energy readings from the Sol system were off the charts, showing massive power signatures that should not exist in that quiet corner of space. The Sol system was home to humans, a peaceful species that grew crops and studied plants. They were harmless creatures who had barely learned to leave their home planet. The Galactic Council had been watching them for hundreds of years, making sure no aggressive species bothered them. Humans were like gentle children who needed protection from the dangerous galaxy around them. But the readings on Zixthera's screen told a different story. The energy signatures were enormous, bigger than anything the monitoring station had ever detected. They looked like the power output of massive starships, but that was impossible. Humans did not build starships. They could barely manage small space stations. Zixathera checked the equipment 3 times. Everything was working perfectly. The readings were real. Something big was happening in the Sol system, and it was not what anyone expected. The technician reached for the emergency communication device. This information needed to reach the Galactic Council immediately. The message would travel through quantum channels to the Council chambers on Nexus Prime, the capital world of galactic civilization. Meanwhile, on Nexus Prime, Counselor Vexhai of the Etherian Collective was reviewing routine reports. The Etherians were tall, graceful beings with blue skin and large eyes that could see across many different light spectrums. They had been part of the Galactic Council for over 2,000 years and were known for their careful attention to detail. Vexhai was looking at crop reports from various protected worlds when the emergency signal arrived. The red light on, the council chamber wall began flashing and an urgent tone filled the room. Emergency signals were rare. They usually meant one of the aggressive species was causing trouble somewhere in the galaxy. The counselor activated the communication screen and saw Zixathera's worried face. The technician's words came out in a rush, mixing scientific data with obvious confusion. Counselor, we have a situation in the Sol system. The monitoring station is detecting massive energy signatures. The readings suggest the presence of large warships, but that cannot be correct. The humans are not capable of building such vessels. Vexhai felt a chill run through their body. Warships in the Sol system could only mean one thing. One of the aggressive species had invaded human space. The Korthak Empire was always looking for new worlds to conquer. Perhaps they had decided to attack the defenseless humans. Send me all the data immediately, Vexhai ordered. And prepare a reconnaissance probe. We need visual confirmation of what is happening in that system. The data arrived within minutes, and Vexhai studied it carefully. The energy signatures were indeed massive, but they had strange characteristics. They did not match the typical patterns of Korthak ships or any other known aggressive species. The power distribution was different, more efficient in some ways. The reconnaissance probe launched from a hidden station near the Sol system. It was equipped with the most advanced scanning equipment the Council possessed. The probe would remain invisible to most detection systems while gathering detailed information about whatever was happening near Earth. Hours passed as the probe traveled through space. Vexhai called an emergency session of the Inner Council, the small group of representatives who handled the most serious galactic threats. Representatives from 12 different species gathered in the secure chamber deep beneath the Council building. Admiral Korath of the Zentari Military Command was the first to speak. The Zentari were a warrior species, but they had joined the Council centuries ago and now use their military skills to protect peaceful worlds like Earth. If someone has attacked the humans, we must respond immediately, Korath said, his deep voice echoing in the chamber. The Sol system is under our protection. Any attack on the humans is an attack on the Council itself. Other Council members nodded in agreement. The protection of peaceful species was one of the Council's most important duties. They had prevented dozens of wars by keeping aggressive species away from worlds that could not defend themselves. Representative Quintal from the Silicon Collective raised a mechanical hand. Perhaps we should wait for the probe data before deciding on military action. We do not know what we are dealing with yet. The discussion continued for another hour before the probe data finally arrived. Vex-High activated the main display screen, and the entire chamber fell silent as the images appeared. The ships were enormous. They hung in space around Earth like metal mountains, their hulls gleaming in the light of the human sun. But these were not Korthak ships or vessels from any other known species. The design was completely unfamiliar, with smooth curves and strange angular sections that seemed to serve no obvious purpose. "What species builds ships like these?" whispered Dr. Meltara, the Council's chief xenobiologist. "I have never seen anything like them in all my years of study." Admiral Korath leaned forward, studying the ship designs with professional interest. "Look at those weapon ports and the armor plating. These vessels are built for war, but the technology is different. More advanced in some ways than anything we have." Vex-High felt growing dread as the implications became clear. "Run a detailed scan of the ships. Find out who built them and why they are in the Sol system." The probe's advanced sensors began their work, analyzing every detail of the strange warships. The results arrived quickly, and they were more shocking than anyone had expected. The ships were human. The energy signatures, the construction materials, even the crew life signs inside the vessels were all human. Somehow, the peaceful agricultural species that the Council had been protecting for centuries had built a fleet of advanced warships without anyone noticing. "This is impossible," Dr. Meltara said, her voice shaking. "Humans are not capable of this kind of technology. Our records show they can barely manage spaceflight within their own system." Vex-High studied the data again, hoping to find an error, but everything checked out. The ships were definitely human in origin, and they were definitely real. The Council had been watching the Sol system for hundreds of years, but somehow they had missed this incredible development. "How many ships are there?" Admiral Korath asked. The probe completed its count. 47 vessels of various sizes. The largest ones are bigger than our heavy cruisers. "And Counselor," the probe's voice paused, "there are signs of many more ships. These appear to be just the ones currently on patrol." The chamber erupted in shocked voices as Council members tried to understand what they were seeing. The humans were supposed to be harmless farmers and scientists. They were not supposed to build fleets of warships that could challenge the military forces of the galaxy. Vex-High called for order and activated the secure communication system. Every major world in the Council needed to know about this development immediately. Emergency sessions would convene across 12 star systems as the galaxy tried to figure out how they had been so completely wrong about humanity. The peaceful species they had been protecting for centuries had somehow become one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy, and nobody had seen it coming. As the emergency messages went out across the galaxy, one question burned in every alien mind. What else were the humans hiding? The emergency council meeting had been going on for 6 hours. Representatives from every major species in the galaxy sat around the enormous circular table on Nexus Prime. The holographic display in the center showed the human warships, rotating, slowly so everyone could see their strange and powerful design. Counselor Vex-High stood at the podium looking tired. The discovery of human military capabilities had shaken the entire galactic government. For the first time in anyone's memory, the Council had no idea what to do about a situation. "We need answers," Vex-High said to the assembled representatives. "How did we miss this? How did a species we have been monitoring for centuries develop advanced military technology without our knowledge?" Dr. Meltara raised her hand. As the chief xenobiologist, she was responsible for understanding alien species and their capabilities. "I have been reviewing our files on humanity. Something is very wrong with our original assessment." She activated her personal display and began showing data to the Council. "According to our records, humans were first contacted 847 standard years ago. The initial survey team classified them as a peaceful agricultural species with limited technological potential." "Admiral," Korath interrupted. "Limited potential? Those ships suggest otherwise. What exactly did the survey team report?" Dr. Meltara pulled up the original files. The documents were old, stored in the deep archives of the Council database. As she read through them, her expression grew more and more troubled. The original report says humans are herbivorous pack-bonding agriculturalists with strong social cooperation instincts. It recommends placing them under protective status to prevent aggressive species from interfering with their peaceful development. She paused, studying the data more carefully. But there are inconsistencies. The biological scans show human teeth designed for eating both plants and meat. Their muscle structure suggests they are built for running long distances and using tools. And their brain scans... Dr. Meltara stopped talking. Her face went pale as she stared at the screen. "What is it?" Vexai demanded. "The brain scans show advanced problem-solving capabilities and complex strategic thinking. These are not the brain patterns of a simple agricultural species. These are the brain patterns of apex predators." The council chamber erupted in shocked voices. Species representatives began talking all at once, trying to understand what they were hearing. Admiral Korath's deep voice cut through the noise. "Are you saying the original survey team made an error?" Dr. Meltara was frantically checking more files. Not just an error, a massive fundamental mistake about the entire species. She found what she was looking for and displayed it for everyone to see. Here is the problem. The original xenobiologist was a junior researcher named Kilvash. He was inexperienced and working on his first major species assessment. Look at this note in his personal files. The note appeared on the main screen. It was written in the simple script used by young researchers. Subjects appear calm and peaceful during observation. They show no aggressive behavior and seem focused on growing food plants. Recommend classification as herbivorous agriculturalists. But Dr. Meltara had found another file, a backup copy of the original data that had been stored separately. This is what the scanners actually detected. Humans are omnivorous persistence hunters. They chase prey for hours until it collapses from exhaustion. They have advanced tool-making abilities and complex social structures designed for group hunting. The truth was becoming clear. Kilvash misread the data. He saw humans taking care of plants and assumed they were farmers. He did not realize they were actually managing food sources as part of a complex survival strategy. Vexai felt sick. So, for 847 years, we have been treating one of the galaxy's most capable predator species as harmless plant eaters. It gets worse, Dr. Meltara continued. I checked the records of human contact with other species. Every time we introduced them to alien visitors, the humans were polite and cooperative. They never showed aggression or challenged anyone. We thought this proved they were peaceful. Admiral Korath was beginning to understand. But if they are actually apex predators, their behavior suggests something else entirely. They were being careful. They were studying us. The implications hit everyone at the same time. For hundreds of years, humans had been pretending to be harmless while actually learning everything they could about galactic civilization. They had been watching, studying, and preparing. We need to contact them immediately, Vexai decided. We need to understand what they really want and what they are capable of. The Council agreed to send a diplomatic message to Earth. It would be the first time anyone had spoken directly to humans about military matters. Until now, all contact had been about peaceful topics like science and culture. Meanwhile, in Earth's orbital command center, Admiral Sarah Chen was already expecting the call. Human monitoring stations had detected the alien probe hours ago. They knew their secret was out. Admiral Chen was a tall woman with short gray hair and sharp eyes. She had commanded Earth's defense forces for 12 years, always knowing this day would eventually come. The day when humanity would have to stop pretending to be something they were not. Ma'am, we are receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council, reported Communications Officer Martinez. They want to speak with our leadership about the ships they detected. Admiral Chen smiled. After centuries of careful planning, humanity was finally going to have an honest conversation with their alien neighbors. Put them through, she ordered. The main screen activated, and Counselor Vexhai's face appeared. The alien looked nervous and confused, exactly what Admiral Chen had expected. Greetings, Vexhai said carefully. I am Counselor Vexhai of the Galactic Council. We have detected unusual activity in your system and would like to discuss it with your leaders. Admiral, Chen decided to be direct. Counselor, I am Admiral Sarah Chen of Earth Defense Command. I believe you have discovered our ships. The alien's large eyes widened. Earth Defense Command? But our records show you are a peaceful agricultural species. You are not supposed to have a military organization. Your records are wrong, Admiral, Chen replied calmly. They have been wrong for a very long time. We have been trying to be polite about it, but I think it is time we had an honest conversation. Vexhai was silent for a long moment. You mean you have known about the classification error? Admiral Chen nodded. We figured it out decades ago. Your junior researcher made some interesting assumptions about human behavior. We decided it was easier to let you believe them than to cause a diplomatic incident. The truth was finally coming out. Humanity had known they were misclassified, but they had been too polite to correct the mistake. They had spent centuries playing the role of harmless farmers while secretly preparing for the day when the galaxy might need their real capabilities. But why hide your true nature? Vexhai asked. Admiral Chen's expression grew serious. Because we have been watching the galaxy, Counselor. We have seen the wars, the conflicts, the species that destroy each other over resources and territory. We decided it was better to wait and learn before revealing what we really are. The conversation continued for hours as both sides began to understand how completely they had misunderstood each other. The galaxy was about to learn that their protected children were actually their most capable guardians, and humanity was about to discover that sometimes being honest is more complicated than staying hidden. The diplomatic meeting had moved to a secure conference room on Earth's lunar base. For the first time in galactic history, a full council delegation was visiting the Sol system to meet with human leaders face to face. Counselor Vexhai sat across from Admiral Sarah Chen, still trying to process everything they had learned in the past few days. The other council representatives looked equally confused and worried. They had come to the Sol system expecting to find confused farmers who had somehow stumbled upon advanced technology. Instead, they found a highly organized military civilization that had been watching the galaxy for centuries. Let me make sure I understand this correctly, Vexhai said slowly. You have known about the classification error for decades, but you chose not to correct it? Admiral Chen nodded. That is correct. When we first realized your survey team had made mistakes about human nature, we had several options. We could have contacted you immediately to fix the error. We could have ignored it completely. Or we could have used the situation to learn more about galactic civilization before revealing our true capabilities. So you chose to deceive us, said Representative Quintal from the Silicon Collective, his mechanical voice carrying clear disapproval. Captain Marcus Torres, sitting next to Admiral Chen, spoke up. With respect, Representative, we never lied. To you. We simply did not correct your assumptions. When your people visited Earth, we showed them our farms, our cities, our peaceful activities. Everything you saw was real. But you hid your military capabilities, Admiral Korath pointed out. Would you show strangers your weapons? Captain Torres asked. We knew nothing about galactic politics when first contact happened. We had no idea if you were peaceful explorers or potential invaders, so we were careful. Dr. Meltara leaned forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming her shock. But how did you develop such advanced technology? Our monitoring showed you. We're still using primitive space vehicles just 50 years ago. Admiral Chen and Captain Torres exchanged glances. This was the part they had been dreading to explain. Dr. Meltara, Admiral Chen said carefully, how long have you been giving us gifts of advanced technology? For about 200 years, the xenobiologist replied. We provided basic spaceflight technology, improved communications, better power systems, all designed to help you develop peacefully without becoming a threat to yourselves or others. Captain Torres pulled out a tablet and began showing technical diagrams. We reverse-engineered everything you gave us within months of receiving it. Your basic spaceflight technology was actually quite advanced. We studied it, improved it, and built our own versions. The alien representatives stared at the diagrams in shock. The humans had not just copied the Council technology. They had made it better. This is impossible, Quintal said. Those improvements should have taken you centuries to develop. Why? Asked Dr. Elizabeth Hayes. Earth's chief xenoarchaeologist. Because we are supposed to be simple farmers? Your assumptions about human intelligence were as wrong as your assumptions about our nature. Dr. Hayes activated the room's holographic display and began showing her own data. We have been studying galactic civilization since first contact. Not just the technology you shared with us, but your political systems, your military capabilities, your economic structures. We know more about the Galactic Council than most council members do. Vexai felt a chill. What do you mean? We know about the Korthak Empire's plans to expand into the Rigel sector. We know about the resource disputes between the Zentari and the hegemony. We know about the plague that wiped out half the collective's agricultural worlds last year. The council representatives looked at each other in alarm. Some of that information was classified at the highest levels. How could you possibly know about classified council business? Admiral Korath demanded. Dr. Hayes smiled. Because we have been watching. Our ships are very good at staying hidden. We have been monitoring galactic communications and observing interstellar politics for over 2 centuries. The truth was even more shocking than the aliens had imagined. Humanity had not been the protected innocent species the Council thought they were protecting. They had been active observers and participants in galactic affairs, just staying invisible while they learned. But why stay hidden? Vexai asked. You could have joined the Council centuries ago. Admiral Chen's expression grew serious. Because we were not sure the galaxy was ready for us. We watched your wars, your conflicts, your political struggles. We saw species destroy each other over resources and territory. We decided to wait until we understood the situation better. Captain Torres added, we also wanted to make sure we could defend ourselves if necessary. The galaxy is a dangerous place and we needed to be prepared. Defend yourselves from what? Dr. Meltera asked. From anyone who might decide that humans are a threat. Admiral Chen replied. We have seen what happens to species that develop too quickly or become too powerful. Sometimes the galaxy decides they need to be controlled or eliminated. The Council representatives were quiet for a long moment. They all knew the history Admiral Chen was referring to. Several promising species had been managed by Council intervention when they became too advanced too quickly. So you have been preparing for war with us? Vexai asked. Not war, Captain Torres corrected. Defense. Everything we built was designed to protect Earth and human space. We never planned to attack anyone. Dr. Hayes pulled up more displays. In fact, we have been helping to maintain galactic peace. Those ships you detected are just our patrol vessels. They have been quietly preventing conflicts and protecting trade routes for decades. Admiral Korath leaned forward. What do you mean, preventing conflicts? Remember the border dispute between the hegemony and the Free Worlds Alliance 3 years ago? Dr. Hayes asked. It was heading toward war until some of their ships mysteriously broke down and had to return home for repairs. That was us. The alien representatives stared in shock as Dr. Hayes continued. Or the pirate attacks on Council shipping lanes near the Vega system. Those stopped when the pirate bases were destroyed by unknown forces, also us. And the terrorist attack planned against the peace conference on Altair Prime, Captain Torres added. The explosives failed to work because we quietly disabled them. Vexai felt overwhelmed. You are saying that humans have been secretly protecting the galaxy? Not protecting, Admiral Chen corrected. Helping to maintain stability. We have been preventing small conflicts from becoming big wars. We have been stopping terrorist attacks and pirate raids. We have been keeping the peace while staying invisible. The implications were staggering. For decades, the Galactic Council had been taking credit for maintaining peace and stability. But much of that peace had actually been maintained by the human species they thought they were protecting. This changes everything, Vexai said quietly. Admiral Chen nodded. Yes, it does. The question now is what we do next. We can continue pretending to be harmless farmers while secretly keeping the peace, or we can have an honest relationship and work together openly. But those ships we detected, Admiral Korath said. If they are just patrol vessels, what do your real warships look like? Admiral Chen and Captain Torres exchanged another glance. This conversation was about to get even more complicated. Counselor, Admiral Chen said carefully. Those ships you detected? They are not warships. They are reconnaissance vessels. Our actual defense fleet is significantly larger. The conference room fell silent as the aliens realized they had been asking the wrong questions. They had not discovered humanity's military secret. They had barely scratched the surface of it. The galaxy was about to learn that the species they had been protecting was actually far more powerful than anyone had imagined. And humanity was about to discover that honesty could be more dangerous than deception. The council delegation stood on the observation deck of Luna Station, staring out at empty space. Admiral Chen had promised them a demonstration of human military capabilities, but so far they saw nothing except stars and the distant glow of Earth. I do not understand, Counselor Vexhai said. You said you would show us your defensive fleet, but there is nothing here. Admiral Chen smiled and activated her communicator. Fleet Command, this is Admiral Chen. The Council delegation is ready for the demonstration. Understood, Admiral. Beginning fleet reveal in 3, 2, 1. The space around Luna Station suddenly came alive. Ships appeared everywhere, materializing from what had seemed like empty vacuum. First dozens, then hundreds of vessels became visible as their stealth systems deactivated. The Council representatives watched in stunned silence as the human fleet revealed itself. The ships they had detected earlier looked tiny compared to these massive vessels. Some of the human warships were larger than Council space stations. This is impossible, whispered Dr. Meltara. How many ships do you have? Admiral Chen consulted her tablet. Currently visible are 347 vessels of various classes. These represent our home defense fleet for the Sol system. Admiral Korath, the military expert among the aliens, was studying the ships with professional interest and growing alarm. Those are not just warships. Some of those vessels are mobile fortresses, and those configurations, I have never seen weapon systems like that. Captain Torres joined them on the observation deck. Would you like a closer look? We can arrange tours of some of our vessels. That will not be necessary, Vexhai said quickly. The sheer size and number of human ships was overwhelming enough without examining their weapons in detail. Dr. Elizabeth Hayes approached the group carrying several data tablets. Counselor, since we are being honest now, there are some other things you should know about human activities in the galaxy. She activated a holographic display that showed a three-dimensional map of local space. Red dots marked the locations of human ships and installations throughout a dozen star systems. We have been monitoring galactic civilization for over 2 centuries. These are the locations of our observation posts and patrol bases. The aliens stared at the map in shock. Human installations were everywhere, hidden throughout Council space and beyond. You have been watching us from inside our own territory? Quintal asked, his mechanical voice rising in pitch. We prefer to think of it as keeping an eye on the neighborhood, Dr. Hayes replied. We wanted to make sure we understood what was happening in the galaxy before we revealed ourselves. Admiral Korath was studying the map carefully. Some of these locations are in restricted military zones. How did you establish bases there without being detected? Human stealth technology is quite advanced, Captain Torres explained. We learned early that it was better to stay hidden until we understood the political situation. Dr. Hayes pulled up more data. We have detailed information about every major species in the Council: military capabilities, political structures, economic systems, cultural practices. We have been very thorough in our research. Vexhai felt increasingly uncomfortable. You have been spying on us for centuries? We prefer the term observing, Admiral Chen said diplomatically. We never interfered with your internal affairs. We just wanted to understand how galactic civilization worked. But you said you have been preventing conflicts, Dr. Meltara pointed out. Dr. Hayes nodded and changed the display to show historical data. We have intervened in 23 potential wars, stopped 156 terrorist attacks, eliminated 47 pirate organizations, and prevented 12 planetary invasions, all without anyone knowing we were involved. The list of human interventions was impressive and frightening. They had been secretly shaping galactic history for decades. The Korthak-Zentari border war that was averted 5 years ago, Admiral Korath said slowly. The official report said it ended due to diplomatic negotiations. The negotiations succeeded because we made sure both sides' military leaders received accurate information about each other's capabilities. Captain Torres explained. When they realized the war would be too costly, they chose peace instead. And the plague that hit the Silicon Collective worlds, Quintal added. Our scientists said it ended naturally. Dr. Hayes smiled. We may have provided some assistance. With developing a cure, human medical research is quite advanced. Each revelation made the aliens more uncomfortable. Humanity had been involved in every major galactic event for decades, but always from the shadows. Why? Vexhai asked. Why help us without taking credit? Why stay hidden while working to maintain peace? Admiral Chen's expression grew serious. Because we have studied galactic history, Counselor. We know what happens to species that become too powerful too quickly. They either become conquerors or they get destroyed by alliances of fearful neighbors. We wanted to help maintain stability, Dr. Hayes added. A peaceful galaxy is better for everyone, including humanity. But we also wanted to make sure we could defend ourselves if necessary. Captain Torres activated another display showing ship designs and technical specifications. Every major weapon system in the galaxy has been analyzed and countermeasured. We have defensive systems designed to handle Korthak battle fleets, Centauri assault ships, even collective drone swarms. Admiral Korath studied the technical data with growing amazement. These countermeasures are more advanced than the weapons they are designed to stop. How did you develop this technology so quickly? We are very good at solving problems, Admiral Chen replied. When you are a single species surrounded by potentially hostile aliens, you learn to be creative about defense. Dr. Melterra was reviewing biological data on her tablet. According to my analysis, human brain development is optimized for rapid learning and adaptation. You are essentially a species of natural engineers and problem solvers. That would explain a lot, Vexhai said quietly. Dr. Hayes pulled up one final display showing current galactic threat assessments. There are 3 major conflicts brewing in the galaxy right now. The hegemony is planning to invade the free worlds. The collective is developing weapons that could destabilize the entire region. And there are rumors that the Korthak Empire is building a new type of superweapon. We know about all of these threats, she continued. We have been monitoring them and preparing responses. The question is whether we continue to handle these problems secretly, or whether we work with the Council openly. The aliens looked at each other uncertainly. Everything they thought they knew about galactic politics had just been turned upside down. You are saying you have been protecting the entire galaxy? Vexhai asked. Not protecting, Admiral Chen corrected. Maintaining stability, preventing small problems from becoming big wars, making sure no one species becomes too powerful or too aggressive. But you are the most powerful species, Admiral Korath pointed out. What stops you from becoming conquerors? Admiral Chen smiled. The same thing that has stopped us for centuries. Admiral, we do not want to be conquerors. We want to be left alone to live our lives in peace. But we also want our neighbors to live in peace. A peaceful galaxy is a safe galaxy, Captain Torres added. And a safe galaxy is good for humanity. The Council delegation spent the rest of the day touring human facilities and reviewing classified information. By the end, they understood that humanity was not just more advanced than anyone had realized. They were potentially the most powerful force in the galaxy. The question now was what to do with that knowledge. As the aliens prepared to return to their ships, Vexhai had one final question for Admiral Chen. What do you want from us now? Now that we know the truth? Admiral Chen considered the question carefully. We want the same thing we have always wanted, Counselor. Peace, stability, and the freedom to live our lives without interference. The only difference is that now we can work together openly instead of from the shadows. And if the Council decides you are too dangerous to be left alone? Admiral Chen's smile disappeared. Then the galaxy would discover that our defensive capabilities are even more impressive than our peacekeeping efforts. The message was clear. Humanity was offering partnership, but they were prepared for any other response the galaxy might choose. The council delegation departed Earth with a great deal to think about. The galaxy was about to learn that their protected children had grown up to become their guardians. Whether that was good news or terrifying news remained to be seen. 6 months had passed since the council delegation returned from Earth with their shocking discoveries. The galaxy had spent those months in intense debate about what to do with the revelation that humanity was far more advanced and powerful than anyone had imagined. Today, representatives from every major species were gathering on Nexus Prime for the most important vote in galactic history. They would decide whether to accept humanity's offer of partnership or to treat them as a potential threat that needed to be contained. Councillor Vexhai stood at the podium in the Great Assembly Hall, looking out at hundreds of delegates from dozens of worlds. The chamber buzzed with nervous energy as species representatives discussed the decision they were about to make. Fellow beings, Vexhai began, we are here today to vote on the future relationship between the Galactic Council and humanity. After 6 months of investigation and debate, we must decide whether to accept their offer of open cooperation or to maintain our previous policies. The debate had been intense. Some species were terrified by humanity's hidden military power and wanted to treat them as a threat. Others were impressed by their centuries of secret peacekeeping and wanted to welcome them as allies. Admiral Korath of the Zentari stood up to speak first. I have spent these past months reviewing every conflict and crisis in recent galactic history. In every case where violence was prevented or reduced, we now know that human intervention played a role. He activated a holographic display showing military data. The humans have superior technology, larger fleets, and better strategic capabilities than any species in the Council. But they have used this power to maintain peace, not to conquer territory. They could have destroyed any of us at any time over the past 2 centuries, Admiral Korath continued. Instead, they chose to help us solve our problems. I believe we should accept their partnership. Representative Quintal from the Silicon Collective disagreed. Superior power in the hands of any single species is dangerous. What guarantee do we have that humanity will remain peaceful? What stops them from deciding to rule the galaxy directly? Dr. Meltara requested permission to speak. I have spent months studying human psychology and behavior. Their species is fundamentally different from most galactic civilizations. They are pack hunters who evolved to work together for survival. Their instincts favor cooperation over domination. She displayed biological and psychological data. Humans are also naturally curious and innovative. They are more interested in solving problems than in controlling others. This is why they have spent centuries helping to maintain galactic stability, instead of trying to conquer it. The debate continued for hours as representatives shared their concerns and opinions. Some species were worried about losing their independence. Others were excited about the possibility of accessing human technology and knowledge. Finally, Vexhai called for order. We will now hear from the human delegation. Admiral Sarah Chen entered the assembly hall with a small group of human representatives. They had been waiting outside during the debate, giving the council privacy to discuss their decision. Councilors and representatives, Admiral Chen began. We understand that our revelations have been disturbing. We did not intend to deceive anyone, but we felt it was necessary to understand galactic civilization before revealing our true capabilities. She paused, looking around the chamber at the hundreds of alien faces watching her. We offer partnership, not domination. We want to work openly with the Council to maintain peace and stability in the galaxy. Captain Torres stepped forward with a data tablet. We are prepared to share our defensive technologies with Council members. Our medical advances, our stealth systems, our weapons countermeasures. All of it can be made available to help strengthen galactic security. Dr. Elizabeth Hayes added, we are also prepared to share our knowledge of galactic history and politics. Our centuries of observation have given us unique insights that could help prevent future conflicts. But, Admiral Chen said firmly, we will not accept attempts to control or contain humanity. We have proven our peaceful intentions through our actions. We expect to be treated as equals, not as a threat to be managed. The human delegation left the chamber and the formal voting began. Each species cast their vote in order of seniority in the council. The Etherian Collective voted for partnership. The Zentari Military Command voted for partnership. The Silicon Collective voted for cautious acceptance. One by one, the species made their decisions. When all votes were counted, the result was decisive. 847 votes for partnership, 156 votes against, and 97 abstentions. Vexhai announced the results to cheers and worried murmurs from different parts of the chamber. The Galactic Council officially recognizes humanity as a full member species and accepts their offer of partnership in maintaining galactic peace and security. The human delegation was invited back into the chamber to hear the results. Admiral Chen smiled as Vexhai delivered the official welcome. On behalf of the Galactic Council, I welcome humanity as our newest and most capable member. We look forward to working together for the benefit of all civilized species. The formal ceremonies took another hour, but the real work began immediately afterward. Human technical advisors began sharing their knowledge with council scientists. Human military officers started coordinating with galactic defense forces. Human diplomats began openly participating in conflict resolution efforts. 3 months later, the first joint Human Council peacekeeping mission was launched to prevent a war between two minor species in the Outer Rim. The conflict was resolved in days instead of the months or years such disputes usually took. 6 months after the vote, human medical technology helped stop a plague that had been threatening to spread across multiple worlds. The cure was developed and distributed faster than any previous medical response in galactic history. A year later, the galaxy was more peaceful and stable than it had been in centuries. Conflicts were being prevented before they started. Trade was flourishing under improved security. Scientific advancement was accelerating as human and alien researchers worked together. Councillor Vexhai stood in the same chamber where humanity had been welcomed as council members, reviewing reports from across the galaxy. Every indicator showed improvement. Crime was down, conflicts were being resolved peacefully, and interspecies cooperation was at an all-time high. Admiral Chen joined Vexhai on the observation balcony, overlooking the council chambers. "Any regrets about the decision?" the human asked. Vexhai considered the question. "None at all. The galaxy is safer and more prosperous than it has ever been. We should have made this partnership centuries ago." "We were not ready centuries ago," Admiral Chen replied. "Neither were you. Sometimes the right decision can only be made at the right time." Through the chamber windows, they could see the mixed fleet of human and alien ships patrolling the space around Nexus Prime. Human vessels worked alongside Zentari cruisers and collective drones, all united in the mission of keeping the peace. "There is one thing I am curious about," Vexhai said. "Your people spent centuries preparing for the possibility that the galaxy might reject your partnership. What would have happened if we had chosen to treat you as a threat?" Admiral Chen's expression grew serious. "We would have defended ourselves, of course, but we also would have been very disappointed. We have always preferred cooperation to conflict." "But you were prepared for conflict?" "We were prepared for anything," Admiral Chen admitted. "Our species learned long ago that hope for the best while preparing for the worst is the key to survival." Vexhai nodded. "And now?" Admiral Chen smiled. "Now we can focus on building instead of just defending. Human engineers are working with alien scientists on projects that would have been impossible for any single species. We are exploring new technologies, new ideas, new possibilities." "The galaxy is changing," Vexhai observed. "Yes," Admiral Chen agreed. "For the better." As they watched, a group of young beings from different species walked through the chamber below. Humans, Etherians, Zentari, and others worked together on some project, their different abilities and perspectives combining to create something new. The future looked bright for the galaxy. The species that had been misclassified as harmless, farmers had revealed themselves to be wise guardians. The civilization that had been protected for centuries had become the protectors, and for the first time in galactic history, every species could work together openly toward common goals of peace, prosperity, and understanding. The Galactic Council had panicked when they discovered that humans were never supposed to be simple farmers. But that panic had led to the best decision in the Council's long history. Sometimes the most frightening revelations lead to the most wonderful possibilities. The galaxy was finally ready to reach its full potential, with humanity's strength and wisdom helping to guide the way forward into a peaceful and prosperous future for all civilized species. The age of hidden guardians was over. The age of open partnership had begun.